Bulls Nation, Peck here. Fresh CHGO Bulls from studio live on deck. We talked to Tim Legler, NBA expert, an analyst today, get his takes on the Bulls. We're talking Vucevic's role in the Bulls' new offense and taking a look around the NBA. Standings are weird. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to CHGO Bulls. Coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago, on a rainy day in the Windy City. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. That's Big Dave. Bam! BAWL Sports.
Bow.
Back in studio, Will Gottlieb. Freshly coiffed, freshly cut.
Fresh.
Will_Gottlieb.
It's been like a week. I don't know how fresh it still is.
Well, I just noticed it for the
it's
first
fresh.
time yesterday.
It's quaffing.
It's quaffing. And on the controls today, the one and only queen, Miss Katie Duffy.
That's her.
Fighting through a migraine because she's a professional.
Yeah, her life is over.
She did say that. Lots of fun stuff to get to on today's show. Dave and I got a chance to chat with Tim Legler earlier this morning, which was so much fun. I know, Goat, you've had a chance to do some stuff with him since he came on board as co-host of the ALLCITY Network's All-NBA pod with our guy Mares out there in Denver. They do a great job. Bulls fans, if you want more NBA content, you should be checking that out. Big Dave and I got to chat with Legs earlier today about all things Bulls. Some great stories from his playing days, playing against MJ, the GOAT, and the Bulls in the heyday. We will give you all that full interview later on in today's show. We'll also take a look around the NBA. What's going on with the Sixers? And B just got suspended.
Wow.
The Bucks are trash.
Yeah.
And two very daunting foes face the Bulls in a back-to-back tomorrow and Thursday. What's going on out west? We'll touch on all of that. But let's start, gentlemen, with something that we touched on in pregame last night, which is the very strong performance of one Nikola Vucevic
Yes.
through the first 7 games of this Bulls season, and the fact that it's seemed to be like when you talk about this shift in the Bulls offense and who it's benefiting, we've talked about Zach LaVine thriving as an off-ball threat yet again. Hopefully he continues to do that when he comes back from this groin injury. But Vooch might be at the top of that list of who's benefited the most from this new style of Bulls offense. And Goat, you got some great quotes from Vooch and wrote about that, allchgo.com right now, available to our diehards. Check it out. What stood out to you the most, Goat, when you talked, when you heard from Vooch about what he sees in this new Bulls offense?
I think, as we've talked about with the pace that they're playing, and I think, pregame yesterday, we were listening to Will Hardy talk about it, and he made a distinction between pace and tempo. Pace being like getting up and down the court, north-south transition, and tempo being how fast you are within your half-court offense. And I think the tempo with the Bulls has been really great, and Vooch is really thriving with that. One, because I think the Bulls are able to find him in his spots, get him the ball as defenders are closing out, and Billy and Vooch talked about how well he's able to attack closeouts and make decisions out of that. But two is that really unlocks his passing skills because he's one of the best passers on the team. He makes quick decisions. He's a very smart player. And so he's able to help, move the offense side to side. And they're putting him at the top of the key. They're allowing him to attack closeouts off the dribble and make plays heading downhill. They're allowing him to, just shift the ball side to side. He's had a ton of assists, a ton of hockey assists, and just allowing him to really put an imprint on the game with his passing and his playmaking and his IQ. And look, I mean, as great as DeRozan was for the Bulls team, he occupied a lot of that space on the floor. And now that he's not there, the Bulls have really opened that out. And so now other guys are able to step in. You're seeing more driving lanes. You're seeing Kobe attack. You're seeing Io attack. All that's great. But I think one of the kind of unsung elements of the way that they're playing offense right now is just how much of the middle of the floor Vooch is really able to utilize. And he's done that really well. I mean, 21.7 points per game, 3.7 assists. And that's not like a astronomical number, but when you compare that to how much usage he has, it is one of the best figures of his career. So I put this in the article from last night, but basically relative to his usage rate, he has the highest assist rate of his career.
8.3 assist to usage ratio.
It's actually
assist rate relative to usage rate, measuring how much he's getting assists compared to how much he has the ball in his hands.
Yes. And it's actually, that was the number from before the game, so I haven't updated it yet. It's now up to 0.89.
Woo!
Wow.
Let's go.
Who's doing things, man?
And you did mention also in that column, 3.7 assists doesn't sound like a ton, but it's fourth most among starting NBA centers right now.
Yeah, and he's not like dominating the ball. So to have that many assists with only a 20 usage rate, that's what's really impressive.
Yeah.
Is that he's doing within the flow of the offense. They're not stopping and saying, all right, everybody clear out. Let's get Vooch on the block here. And he can make a play out of, a double team from the post. It's like within the flow of the offense. It's helping unlock, I think, a lot of the younger players too. They're able to play off of that. And I think this is kind of like the fully realized offensive hub version of Vooch that the Bulls have been talking about for 2 years now.
Yeah, very true. We don't need to dive into how right I was talking about how Vooch is going to have this kind of season. But I feel like when it comes to centers, there's a certain rhythm that they have to get into a flow of a game. They're not like, scorers like a DeMar or a Zach, where it doesn't matter when they get it or where they get it. They can create it themselves, and then they can shoot. With a center, they've got to be in a rhythm. They get that rebound. They run that floor. They post it up, get them the basketball. There has to be a rhythm to it. These past few seasons, there wasn't a rhythm to it for a guy like Vooch, who was coming off a team where he was clearly the number one option.
Yeah.
And so this was a transition and a change for him. DeMar didn't really have to change his. Zach didn't really have to change his. Zach was fine being a 1B or number 2. He was completely okay with that. DeMar is used to being the best player who handles the ball and gets the most usage out there. Vooch was the one that had to change things and kind of sacrifice, and you kind of saw that in those past few seasons. So now, knowing that he can either be the 1A or 1B or the 2 on this squad, it's more simple for him. Like, there's less thinking and more reacting going on within his game. So when he gets that ball on the block, he can do what he wants. Like, he's allowed to just continue to be who he is. Even the numbers you brought up, Will, the 21-10 and shooting 48% from 3 right now. He has never put those numbers up in the first 7 games of his career ever.
Right.
So he's having an incredible year, and a year that he has never done before, including the All-Star years when he was with Orlando and things like that. So, yeah, the proof is in the pudding as far as how comfortable it's been for him and just how easy the game has been for him since that DeMar-sized hole is there in that offense. And again, I'm not blaming this all on DeMar, saying it's a fault of anybody. I just think Vooch understands it better when he's at the top of the food chain.
And I think, the other piece here is when I talked about attacking closeouts and like the dynamic element, it's not just like shifting the ball side to side. It's like him making plays off the dribble. I think that's great, but what has kind of opened up a lot of that is the way defenses are guarding him. And that is a result of him making shots. When he's shooting 48.5% on a career high 3-point attempt rate, teams have to close out to him. Yeah. And now he's able to put the ball on the floor or just, make shots. And so as we talked about, like, we both had the same take that he was going to have a big year because in that trail role, he's able to just walk into threes. He's able to make passes out of it. If like last night, Walker Kessler was dropping back really far, he's got a ton of space. The whole floor is open to him. And so he can either pull or make plays. And the way that you now have to close out to him opens up a lot of that off the dribble, attacking closeouts stuff that the Bulls have really, they've said over the past couple of years that they're the number 1 team in the league in forcing closeouts. And they're really able to capitalize on that as a result of their ability to put the ball on the floor. And for a guy who's obviously not like a dynamic ball handler, but for him to make plays off the bounce like that and beat bigs as they're either closing out to him or just too far back where he's able to make plays, that's really valuable. And that's not something that a lot of centers have.
And also, I feel like the style of offense that they're playing also helps Vooch also. So that's why you see his assist numbers where they are. Because a guy who's in the paint, their first instinct as a center is always kick it out to the shooter.
Right.
Like, I immediately think of a guy like Shaq when he was in Orlando. He's double teamed. Dennis Scott is getting the basketball, and he's shooting that 3. Like, that's what's going to happen. So the Bulls playing with this style where they're going to take a cajillion threes out there. That helps a guy like Vooch, knowing where those guys are going to be on the floor. You rarely see the ball not go where it needs to go when Vooch is making that decision. You see it when guys are driving to the hoop. We saw it with Dalen Terry yesterday. But you rarely see it with Vooch. Guys know where to be on that baseline, especially guys like Julian Phillips and Ayo and Kobe. You know where they're going to be at that 3-point line, and Vooch is great at getting them the ball.
You know, you mentioned that 3-point attempt rate, Goat, being a career high. When the Bulls made that midseason trade for Vooch in the 2021 season, that was his then career high 3-point attempt rate of 315. It is currently this season 317. So just a tick above that. But, you know, for all Bulls fans, last season when Vooch's, shooting was not, great efficiency-wise. Why is Vooch shooting so many threes? Last year, his 3-point attempt rate was only 258. Yeah. So, it's way up, and he's knocking them down a bunch. But the other thing, as far as, shifting Vooch from Orlando and that version of himself, who the Bulls traded for, to now, and then the DeMar factor being there or not there. When you look at, and you were talking about usage rate and his assists and his compared to his usage rate earlier, Goat, his usage rate only dipped down from 29.9 to 28.2 midseason when he went from Orlando to Chicago. 44 games with the Magic, 26 games with the Bulls. And that was a season when Zach LaVine had the best year of his career statistically. He was getting all, taking all the shots, doing all the Zach LaVine things, first-time All-Star before DeMar's arrival. DeMar's arrival, Vooch's usage goes down from 28.2 in those 26 games he played with Chicago post-trade to 24.5. That's when he sacrificed. So you take DeMar away, and now all of a sudden there is more opportunity for Vooch to operate and more space on the floor for him to operate, because he wasn't doing a lot of dribble handoff stuff with DeMar. That's true. Because DeMar doesn't need dribble handoff stuff. Right. He just operates in ISO, but you see this ball moving from side to side and Vooch being a part of how that's happening. And he is a very heady passer. And shout out to you, Go. You put a few different examples of some Bulls half-court sets over their first couple games in that write-up you did. Katie, thanks for putting that link up for the diehards in the YouTube comments. Even just simple creative in the flow of the offense stuff, like that little give and go he had with Ayo last night. That is stuff that is a part of Vooch's game that the Bulls can supplement their offense with that has not necessarily been there. And I think you can see Vooch with some of these comments recently about the new offense saying, finally, I feel like I'm allowed to play to the strengths of my game. Yeah,
I don't think it's he's not kind of saying it quite like that, as if
not
to
say that he was blaming anybody, right. Or.
But I think it's a nice change for him because he knows that those are the strengths of his game. It's not like he's, having to be asked to do even the things that he's next best at. He's really, I think, able to put his imprint on the way that you're playing. And I think that's what's led into the confidence with the jump shot too. When he feels like he's more involved in the ways that make him a good player, I think that can help some of the secondary elements of your game too. And he talked about last night how, it was a little bit mental for him, just feeling like he had to press a little bit to make shots, feeling like, why isn't this happening? I got to make this happen somehow. And when that starts to spiral, that's when you shoot, 29%. But he has been a career 34% 3-point shooter. He's better than that. And obviously, 48.5% is probably not going to sustain, but you really love the confidence that he's shooting with. You love the way that he is taking shots, moving into open space. In a lot of those examples, like the give and go with Ayo, when he's running those pick and rolls with Giddey, for example, he's basically setting those screens and then moving out to the wing a little bit to create even more space, so that when his defender goes with Giddey to the rim to try to take that away, he's wide open. There's nobody's anywhere near him. So those kind of things can really help just create easier decisions for him. And he's already so good at that, but you just put him in a position where he doesn't have to think. He's just reacting. He's just playing, not just playing, but he's playing his game. Correct. And I think that's what's boosting the confidence.
Yeah, that constant ball movement is kind of what he's all about. He's not that typical kind of center of where you can just dribble, then give it to him in the post, and then you do stuff.
Right.
He needs, everybody has to touch the basketball.
And it seemed like just with that Bulls half-court offense the last few years, everything was slow. Sure. And including some of it being hey, Vooch needs his touches. Let's give the ball down to him in the post.
Right.
But we have nobody on this team capable of making a decent entry pass.
Yes, correct.
So, I wonder if Vooch was frustrated.
Yeah.
Katie, you had that one quote, and there are a bunch more. I can encourage y'all to go read all of them with Vooch's thoughts on the offense. But talking about the style we play this year with the players we have, I'm able to do that more as far as being on top, being involved in the handoffs, creating actions, spreaders, things like that. Something I've done for most of my career. I feel like I'm really good at it. We've run more elbow stuff as well, which my playmaking can come into action in that way as well. It's just it's nice to see this version of Vooch. And look, I know maybe the best course of action still is finding a team that sees a quality vet starting center and a team that's kind of steering towards a reshaping youth development, process this season. That's like in the not too distant past, most people would say Vooch, you can't trade that guy.
Can't do it.
But he looks like a very useful player right now.
And I think
very useful.
I know we got to go to break, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do think that, like, in a way, even as well as Zach's playing, he's not helping the younger guys get better in the way that Vooch is right now. Vooch is contributing to the growth of the young players because he's making life easier on them and helping them get better and higher quality shots. And I think that's super valuable.
True. Gotcha. Quick break. Then when we come back, it's us talking with Tim Legler on CHGO Bulls.
Lex.
Today's CHGO Bulls brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings,
with a B,
Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you have to do is pick more than or less than on at least 2 player stat projections for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. One of my favorite things about Prize Picks is that they are the only real money daily fantasy platform with an insurance injury policy, so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return in the second half of that game, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. And with all the injuries that we've seen already in the first 2 weeks of NBA action,
been a few.
That is a very useful thing to have when you're trying to stack up some daily fantasy winnings. Prize Picks has your back on that. They also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Bulls got a couple of really exciting opponents on deck this week.
True.
We got Luka and the Mavs. We got Ant and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do you think Anthony Edwards is going to go for more than 27 points on Thursday? Talk about it with your friends who also watch NBA action. Do you think, Ayo Dosunmu is going to go off again?
Oh.
Figure it out. Make your picks with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code CHGO to get $50 off, or to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win that first $5 lineup. You get the $50 bonus instantly just for making that first play. That's code CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game.
Right.
I was running.
Time for him to chill out.
Oh, please do.
He already embraced chill earlier with some Coors Light, but to find even more chill, he turns to sunny side. Sunny side of the street. It's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality hydroponics in the city. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, your fall, your winter, and your spring. All the seasons, Sunnyside's got the reason. Ooh, I'm good. One-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city like Wrigleyville, River North, all the way out to the suburbs, Champaign, and South Beloit. And if you're a pro, guess what? They got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added weekly. They know that you love that Cresco. They know that you love. What is the one you love? The mango what now?
Oh, the Good News brand gummies?
Good News Mango.
Love me some Good News.
Guess what? Got them covered. You need the island vibes? Yeah, man. Right near the beach.
Oh, God. Is Jamirish coming
The
back?
Jamirish. 7 in the morning, Jamirish. Got to get the island vibe. Oh, yeah, they got all of that covered, y'all. And, of course, that Puff Puff Paradise. They got that for you, too. But it's available for a limited time offer, so make sure you get on it. It's also available in disposable vapes, the 510 carts, and the live resin gummies, the Good News Island vibes. And for the next staycation, y'all, make sure you get down with all of it. Sunnyside is where you should go. Sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. You heard me. Enter that promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day. Only 21 and over or Illinois Med card holders. 21.
Big Dave, big fan of those island vibes.
Hit the vibes. Why would I wear this hat?
Boy. All right, guys. We talked to Tim Legler earlier today.
We did.
Let's listen to that interview, watch that interview, and enjoy the glory that is Tim Legler talking NBA hoops.
We asked questions about the GOAT, too.
That's true.
Oh, no.
What's up, Bulls Nation? Peck here from CHGO Bulls, alongside my guy, Big Dave. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Very honored and excited today to be joined by one of the very best in the biz when it comes to talking NBA hoops, 10-year NBA vet, longtime ESPN TV analyst, as well as the co-host of our very own All Cities All NBA podcast with our guy Adam Mares. You can follow him on Twitter at LegsESPN. The one and only Tim Legler joins us now to talk Bulls and NBA. Tim, what's going on, man?
What's up, gentlemen? I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Actually, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at you guys and I'm seeing that Bulls logo and I'm having some flashbacks to my playing career when I played 10 years in the league and I saw 6 of those years end in championships for that team. So that's like a little bit of post-traumatic stress for me, but that's okay.
Yeah, and quarter century later, the Bulls are still living off those glory years.
Yes.
We want to get your
Hey, listen, man, when you win 6 and 8 years, you can live for a long time off those glory years.
Long time.
I think some people within that organization believe in that a little too heavily. But we want to get your take on what's going on in the current Bulls universe. Tim, obviously with the departure of DeMar DeRozan after those 3 years and the arrival of Josh Giddey, Zach LaVine coming back from his surgery last season, Lonzo Ball even coming back to action, the Bulls focusing with this younger roster on playing a much more up-tempo pace than they have been the past few seasons and going from one of the lowest volume three-point shooting teams in the NBA to one of the highest through their first 7 games. What do you make of this drastic shift the Bulls are making, and do you think it's going to work out for them over the course of this season and moving forward?
I definitely think the approach was the only way to go with this roster makeup. I just think you got to play to your strengths. And I think, and look, they still have some guys that are kind of finding their way in terms of rounding into form after missing time. So they're not even close to really hitting their stride. And I think a team that could be tough to guard night to night. I love the approach. This is what the modern NBA looks like. I'll be honest with you. I made my living shooting threes, and it is sometimes hard for me as an analyst to watch games in which there's, 80 to 100 threes taken in a given night between the two teams. Like, it sometimes can feel a little bit monotonous almost, trip after trip after trip after trip. But I do think this Bulls team's personnel is suited to this style to give them the best chance to win. And I think that that's what they have done, and I think that's smart. You have to embrace what you have. DeMar DeRozan was not a guy that could have played in a style like this because of the way that he plays the game is different. As great as he is, as effective as he is as a scorer, this isn't something you could do with him. Looking at this personnel now and what you have and the number of guys that can shoot it, the number of guys that can get the ball and advance it quickly up the floor, I think pretty high IQ on this team. This is the way to play that gives you the best chance to win every night because this is not a loaded roster. Right. And if you try to just play traditional style basketball, you're going to have a difficult time winning in this league because the onslaught coming at you from the three-point line, the discrepancy there is just too much to overcome. So they've adapted to it. They've addressed it, and I think it gives them a better chance.
One of the guys that is a non-traditional kind of guy that they got is Josh Giddey. And he's kind of fit in really nicely with this team so far. What is your feeling on Josh Giddey here with the Bulls? And do you think he can be a foundational piece for this team?
Josh Giddey was a guy that I loved early on in Oklahoma City because you'd watch him and you'd go, physically, the numbers he's putting up, they don't match up with what he looks like physically, right? You're like, man, this guy must just be so strong and smart. And he's always one step ahead of the game, right? And his passing is what kind of stood out more than anything else. He's a great ball mover. He just facilitates and promotes ball movement and player movement because he gets it and it's very decisive where it's going next. That is very good to get guys to want to run harder, cut harder, because he's going to keep the ball flowing. That's what stood out to me in Oklahoma City. And then he'd have these big scoring nights some nights too. You're like, okay, man, this guy can really play. And then toward the end in Oklahoma City, his perimeter shot completely left the building. He had no faith in it. He had no belief in it. He had lost confidence. Teams weren't guarding him in the playoffs. They got him off the floor during the playoffs because of it. And so I didn't know where he was going to be mentally after that, even changing teams in a new environment. The bottom line is Chicago, it's a big market city, man. There's a lot of media coverage. Fans are into it. So there's like he's carrying some pressure with him of some failures offensively. And what I've seen is a guy that's closer to the version I really loved in Oklahoma City, more so than the guy that, you would look at the 15, 20 feet of space he had standing in the corner because they didn't have to guard him. And now there was a second guy in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's lap because they weren't guarding Josh Giddey. And it was a problem for their offense. I'm seeing a guy that's closer to what he was at his best in OKC. And hopefully, I don't know how are the Chicago fans embracing Josh Giddey?
Well, I think maybe mediocre amount of hesitant optimism through 7 games.
That's a good way to put it.
It's the kindest way I can put it. But look, I'm curious what you think about the situation they are in, where we saw a whole bunch of guys from Josh Giddey's draft class get those extensions done at that deadline a couple weeks ago. The Bulls and Giddey did not come to terms on an extension, and Bulls fans are sitting here saying, man, there is a lot riding on what Josh Giddey looks like and how productive he is on the floor. Does he make the Bulls better when he's on the floor? Because we got to start talking about a Josh Giddey contract where he's looking for maybe 25, even close to 30 mil annually on a multi-year deal. Is he a good enough player to be a foundational piece with that kind of contract attached to it? And again, it's a small 7-game sample size, but right now, Giddey is the Bulls are plus 21 through 7 games with Giddey off the floor and a minus 52 with him on the floor. Does that concern you at all? Because some Bulls fans are worried about Giddey being a net positive player that the Bulls are going to hand a big contract to next spring and continue building with.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of expand upon what I was just saying about him. He's rebounded from his low point in Oklahoma City. He's definitely not in that place anymore. Having said that, there are still limitations with his game that to commit to that and lock into that to Josh Giddey, is that in some way limit your ability to grow as a franchise and what you do with your roster going forward when he's not going to be a tipping point or a needle mover in terms of staying relevant in the Eastern Conference? That's probably my opinion on it. I would say no. I don't necessarily think that he is. Having said that, if you and I sat here right now and went around the league and looked at the number of guys making $25 million a year, you would be shocked at the list of names. That number doesn't mean what it did, certainly when I played, my goodness, but even what it did 10 years ago. There are so many guys making north of $20 million now that are just pieces in the machine, cogs in the machine. Nothing more than that. Solid players, not guys that are going to get you to the next place. I would probably put Josh Giddey in that category.
Well, there's another player that hasn't gotten a lot of love, from the national side of things, is Zach LaVine. He went from being a guy, a 2-time All-Star, to someone they couldn't even trade for a pack of gum. And now he feels like he's rebuilding not only his game, but also just his image. He has to rebuild at the same time. What do you feel about Zach? Is he still somebody the Bulls should be looking to trade off this team, or maybe hold on to him and see what he can do, because he still has a few years left on that contract?
Yeah, I know, man. I think it's going to be tough. You're right, what you said about the rumor mill with Zach LaVine. I don't think I've ever heard a guy get thrown into more trade rumors for that long a period of time. It's like that I can remember. And it never happened. It never materialized. And it told you, no, either they were asking too much in return or the market just wasn't there for him, because obviously his name was floated out there in every possible scenario you could imagine. And other teams were looking at Zach LaVine and saying to themselves, all right, he provides something that teams do need. Like you're talking about a wing that can flat out score, and he can shoot the ball. He can play off of other stars because of his ability to catch and shoot. So he can morph into more that than a go-to guy if that's what he needed. And that's what teams were weighing, because you're not going to trade for Zach LaVine if you're a bottom half of the league team. You're not going. Why would you do that? You're only going to look at Zach LaVine if you're a contender and you think that's the final piece. More punch, more scoring power, and a guy that could play off of all stars we already have and do it comfortably. For whatever reason, nobody really got to that place where they were willing to give what the Bulls were asking to make that happen. So now here we go. moving forward. It's an interesting scenario. Zach LaVine is 29 years old. So for me,
Right.
25 to 32 is your prime.
Yeah.
Those are the best years you typically have as an NBA player for a lot of reasons. He's right in the middle of that, but he's not a typical 29-year-old because of the injury history and some of the stuff he's dealt with. So I don't know that people view him that way. If you looked him up, 4 years in his wheelhouse as an elite level scorer, but we can all see he's taken a step back from what he was at his best. He has a contract that makes it tough to move. The market isn't necessarily there. It puts the Bulls in a very difficult spot. I think that was going to be the key piece to move if you really wanted to go to rebuild mode and just think about the future. They're in a weird place as an organization. They've got some young guys they're trying to develop. They've got veteran guys making a lot of money that maybe aren't what they once were. It's what I would describe as NBA purgatory. That's where the Bulls are. They're not a bottom feeder. Let's turn it all around. Let's tank it. Let's go for Cooper Flag. They're not there. And they're not a team that's relevant and really competitive or a problem for somebody in the Eastern Conference playoffs. They're in purgatory by NBA standards because of this strange mixture of players on their roster, and it's a very difficult thing to get out from under.
We love you, Tim Legler.
Thank you for saying that on our podcast, Tim Legler. I think some Bulls fans feel that way, and some Bulls fans feel like, hey, if this young team can make their way into the play-in and maybe win their way out of the play-in, the value of playoff experience for young players, and that argument, I hear that, but I think you look around and say no diss to Kobe White or anyone else on this roster. The Bulls don't have that piece yet, and they're trying to kind of straddle this very, very difficult fence. But because I mentioned him, I'm curious what you think about Kobe White, coming off of the near MIP winner last season, really elevating his offensive game with Zach LaVine missing a lot of time last year, playing well off of DeMar. Now DeMar's gone, and Bulls fans are wondering, can Kobe White elevate his game to yet another level, maybe even flirt with an all-star nod? I think it will be hard to do without the defensive gravity that DeMar DeRozan attracted and allowed Kobe to operate with over the last couple of years. But what do you think? Do you think that there is still room between where Kobe is now and his ceiling?
To his credit, when they lost DeRozan, I thought, the quality of shots are going to be harder to generate for Kobe White. So he's going to have a different kind of year. I love Kobe White. I love his game. He's entertaining to me. He's pretty consistent. He shoots the ball at an efficient rate. And I was wondering if he was going to be able to maintain that, knowing that DeRozan's gone. We're not exactly sure what Zach LaVine's going to be. I don't love the other offensive pieces on this team. Does that mean more challenging possessions for Kobe White, which means, hey, maybe he puts up the same numbers, but he shoots 40% from the field? Wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. I mean, look at a guy like Tyrese Maxey in Philly, right? So you don't have Embiid, you don't have Paul George to start the year. I love Tyrese Maxey. He's 46% shooter for his career. Guess what he shot beginning of the season without those two guys? 40%, because he's taking much more difficult shots than he should have to. And it's just natural for those percentages to decline. Kobe White is still over 45% from the field. He's over 41% from the three-point line. His numbers is a slight uptick in scoring. Give him credit, because this has been an adjustment for him, higher profile on him, more crowded situations for him to operate in, and yet he's doing things very efficiently. So I actually think the best is yet to come for him this season. I think, it's always tougher at the start of a year. I think Kobe White is a guy that I definitely would want on my team. He's part of the solution for the Bulls going forward, I think.
All right, Tim, let me get to why I really am glad that you're here. And I'm going to have 1,000 questions for you over the next, months that we are talking about your playing days and playing during that time. But I'll start with this one. You definitely played on one of my favorite teams, which was the Washington Bullets, when they had Rod Strickland, Chris Webber, Rasheed Wallace on that squad, Calbert Chaney as well. But I want to ask you is, what do you remember about the series against the Chicago Bulls in that first round when you all played and the Bulls kind of got them out of there pretty quickly? Even though trust me, I loved y'all team, but I'm a Bulls fan, bro. But I wanted to know what you remember about that series.
Couple things. First of all, I'll take you back to the year before that. So 95-96 season was my best year as a pro. I led the league in three-point shooting. I won the three-point shootout. I tore 3 ligaments in my knee, game 81 of that year. So I didn't come back until March of the following season. And so March of 97, that's the year we played the Bulls in the first round. So I'd been back active for about a month, heavy brace on my leg. I still wasn't part of the rotation. So that's the first thing I remember, how disappointed I was that I barely played in that series because I wasn't even close to back from my injury. So that's first. Secondly, I remember we got swept 3 games. And if you go and look at the play-by-play of those 3 games, every one of those games was winnable with 3 minutes left. We gave the Bulls fits. But we, of course, they were an experienced team. They were a proven team. We were still trying to figure ourselves out. We gave them a hell of a series, even though it ended up 3-0. And then the final thing, I remember MJ dropping 50+ in the first game. So I remember that pretty vividly. And sitting there, and Calbert Chaney was one of my close friends, teammate. He was our starting 2. One of the better defenders in the league at that spot, 6'7", strong as an ox, pogo stick legs. This dude was draped on Michael Jordan in that first playoff game, and Jordan still dropped 50. Like, you'll never see a guy play a guy better and had no effect on a player as Calbert Chaney did in that game. And it blew my mind, man. Like, to sit there and be part of that and be on the court with that and sit there and witness that, that level, it's for me, it's why Michael Jordan in my lifetime is he represents the greatest thing in terms of must-see TV this league has ever seen.
It's okay, Tim. There are a lot of players in your window of playing years that had MJ drop 50 on them.
Tons, sir.
It's a club you should be honored to be a part of.
Hey, I always looked at it like this when I checked in the game to guard Michael. I always looked at it like this. I got nothing to lose. Everybody would be like, man, were you nervous guarding Jordan? I said, no, not at all, because he's not going to do anything to me he hasn't done to much better players. So I'm not worried about it at all. If he goes 0 for 3 in the 7 minutes I guard him, guess what? I might get a standing ovation checking out of the game. So I got nothing to lose. My issue would be if I'm going head-to-head with Steve Kerr and he busts me up for 15, now I got a problem. Now I'm probably going to get chewed out. I might not see the court in the second half. So I never looked at it like it was intimidation. I looked at it like this is an opportunity when you play guys on that level, man. Play them tough, play them hard, make them work for it. And if on that given night they happen to miss a few shots while you're guarding them, then it's a win-win.
All right, Tim, we'll get you out of here in a second. But just one quick one about the landscape of the East right now. Obviously, it looks like Boston might have a fellow juggernaut challenger in the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are just beating everybody. More curious to get your thoughts on 2 other what we we're presuming contenders in Philly and Milwaukee, languishing in the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings right now. Which one of those 2 teams would you say it's a rocky start, but they'll get their together? And which of those 2 teams say, after the games you've watched of them, this team's actually in real trouble right now?
Milwaukee's got problems, without a doubt. And I know they just lost 2 games back to back, basically in the last minute of the game, up in the air against the Cavs, who were undefeated. So those are like, there is such thing as a quality loss, those are those things. The problem I have is the issues that they had after Doc Rivers got there mid-season. And they went 17-19 the last 36 games of the year under Doc Rivers. Remember that. And, of course, they were all banged up in the playoffs. Giannis doesn't play. They get bounced by Indiana. So we were waiting to see this year. Let's fast forward. Giannis healthy. Lillard, year 2, probably more comfortable there. Now Doc's had a full off season to implement his stuff, his terminology, his philosophy and identity defensively, because their defense was a train wreck a year ago. And that's what they hung their hat on when they won a championship. And they took a massive step back. And they made that decision with Holiday and Lillard. Like, that's a conscious decision. We're going to be much worse defensively, but we might be so good offensively it won't matter. That's the risk that they took. What I'm worried about is there's been no improvement defensively with this team. And Lillard is playing better offensively than he was a year ago. They're still losing. I said going into the year, there were 2 teams I felt like it was imperative they get out of the gate quickly because of the narrative that's going to start, the chirping that's going to start, the constant dialogue, the mood in the locker room. And those 2 teams were Milwaukee, because of all the changes last year, Doc and all that, and Lillard getting beat up a little bit, and Phoenix, because it's Durant. They had an underwhelming year. They made a coaching change. bring in Boone. If either one of those teams got out of the gate like Milwaukee did, I'm like, that's going to be a problem. Internally, that's going to be a problem with the morale of the team, the negativity that's going to creep in. Phoenix is 6-1. They've answered the bell. Milwaukee's 1-6. It couldn't have started worse for the Bucks. Now they don't have Chris Middleton. Okay, I get it. That's fine. I'm not even sure what Chris Middleton is anymore because he's missed so much time.
Exactly.
But the Bucks, to me, are the bigger issue because I think getting out of the gate was a nightmare for them because they've got their 2-star players playing well and they're still losing. Philadelphia doesn't have Embiid. They just got Paul George. Their best is definitely yet to come. Whenever that happens and Embiid gives them consistent playing time. The Philadelphia 76ers are still going to be something I think to deal with down the road. I'm more concerned about the Bucks.
Makes sense. And hey, if the Bucks turn out to be a dumpster fire, one fewer team, the Bulls have to fight for that play-in spot, right, Tim? Purgatory.
I like that thinking. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Tim, we appreciate your time.
I got one more question for you, Tim. One more. You've done shows with our guy, Will Gottlieb, Will the Go Gottlieb, sir.
Oh, yeah.
As someone with amazing hair, when you look at Will the Go Gottlieb, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rank the quaff of Will Gottlieb, sir?
Will Gottlieb, he clearly takes a lot of time. He puts a lot of grooming into that. I'm sure he spends a lot of money on product. I bet the Amazon guys dropping off a box of that stuff on a weekly basis. That's fine. I will say, as a guy that I take pride too, I call this playoff hair I rocked for you guys today.
Yes, sir.
It is attentive and alert and ready to go. And I think I put Will in that same category. It matters, it matters.
The GOAT can maybe one day dream to be in the Legler category.
Yes, sir, man.
Of people who talk about basketball and have great hair.
That's a heck of a level.
Again, Legs, we appreciate it, man. Even though you're a Commanders fan, we're going to let that slide for today. We look forward to our next chat. Bulls Nation, make sure you subscribe to All City's All NBA Podcast channel on YouTube. You can find it in that related channel section of our CHGO Sports YouTube channel's homepage with our guy Adam Mars over there in DNVR. Also, recurring appearances from the one and only Mark Stein added to the fold this season. Legs, you and Mars and that crew are doing a great job. I listen every episode. Love what you guys do. Bulls Nation, you will too. And of course, you can follow him on that Twitter machine, Legs ESPN. Timothy, a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir.
Hope you enjoyed that chat the Big Dave and I had with Tim Legler earlier today. The one and only. GOAT, I know that you have gotten a chance to do a couple crossovers with him since he joined All City last year. But, Dave, I don't know about you. I've been watching Tim Legler break down NBA action on TV for years. I remember watching him play when I was a kid. Yeah. I remember that Bulls getting to chat. This is my first time ever chatting with Legs earlier today. That was definitely like a bucket list, like, holy crap. And we were just sitting here in studio watching, the playback of that, as you all saw it for the first time. I was like, I can't believe me and Big Dave are just sitting here talking to Tim Legler right now.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I still have his cards, you know what I mean, at home. Like, I've definitely watched him a lot. Like I told him, I have 1,000 more questions for him about his playing days. But you're right. Just love watching him break down the game. Like, just a really great mind. And it's a really great thing that he is here on the ALLCITY Network. And we have the ability now to just reach out, to him and have him come on our show and spit some knowledge, man.
And yeah, like you said, for a guy like that, who's obviously played in the league, who's on ESPN, to take the time to talk with guys like us, it's just really cool. But then also to be so nice and so insightful and so smart about the way that he breaks down the game. It's really awesome to be able to talk to him. So I'm glad you guys got the chance, but had to bring up my hair and yet another
of course.
Interview,
so. How did you like that?
He was complimentary.
Very complimentary.
I can say nothing.
Do you get?
I can't say anything.
Do you get a shipment a week for your various hair products?
I actually don't put anything in my hair.
Yeah, I know this. I know this.
I really don't.
I know this.
Yes, exactly.
So when he was saying that, I was just thinking in my head, like, I go. Wakes up, shakes it, sticks it in the sun, and goes and does his thing, man. Quaffing.
We covered a lot of ground. Legs offered great insight and analysis on the Bulls' new look offense, Josh Giddey, his contract situation, Zach LaVine, Kobe White, all that. But most importantly, we got Tim Legler to say on our show, the Bulls are an NBA purgatory. That's what's important. Thank you, Legs. We got to take one more quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up with maybe another thought or two on what we heard from Legs and take a look around the NBA standings on CHGO Bulls.
Standings are weird.
We're sponsored by the Chicago Sports Network, ladies and gentlemen, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They are Chicago-based, they are Chicago-built, and they are Chicago. And they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our beautiful 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, Hawks, and Sox games all season long. And when you finish watching those games, tune in to the post-game coverage for the Sox, Hawks, and Bulls right here on CHGO.
Today's CHGO Bulls also brought to you by our friends at Coors Light, who are the presenting sponsor of Wish Fest, Chicago's concert for a cause. Wish Fest is back at the Salt Shed this Saturday, November 9th. It is a one-night indoor music festival uplifting families battling cancer across Chicago and the Midwest, featuring a unique lineup of music and an atmosphere unlike any other, with crowd favorites OAR, Grammy-nominated superstar Mike Posner, indie folk sensation Will Dorado, and folk pop up-and-comer Hans Williams.
Your boy.
It's a big party. That is right, my boy. Only $150, and you will get all-exclusive experience with over 6 hours of all-you-can-drink bar. That's what I'm talking about. Plenty of food vendors, a truly special atmosphere with all-night music, and every single dollar benefiting this amazing cause. All Wish Fest proceeds benefit Wish Forever's mission of uplifting families battling cancer, helping bring support to more than 600 families facing cancer with financial gifts totaling over $3 million. Shout out and thanks to Coors Light for being a presenting sponsor of this great cause, this great event. For more information on Wish Fest and to get your tickets, and again, this Saturday, Salt Shed here in Chicago, Saturday, November 9th, you can go to their website, Wishfest, that's WEISHFEST, wishfest.com/tickets. Spelled like the normal, tickets. But sometimes I just like the way that Big Dave says tickets.
Yeah, good effort. I appreciate the effort.
I'm no Big Dave.
Execution? I like what I do find interesting is when you go slash, you go up with your slash.
Yeah.
And not
down.
Not cutting it down. You cutting up.
I'm always trying to uplift people, Dave. That's why I go up. I'm always thinking optimistically.
Ever the optimist.
I'm always looking at the positives. I'm never looking down.
When they go low, Matt goes high.
Yeah, no, we tried that goat. It didn't work very well.
Oh, man. Very positive, man.
Yeah.
Natty good vibes over
Very
there.
good vibes.
Very good vibes.
Shout out. Good
We also
I like that one.
learned, speaking of nickname, Joey was given a nickname
Yes.
by his new coworkers
Yes.
the other day. He texted us about it.
Yes.
Been sending a bunch of people at the Big Ten Network a bunch of emails recently.
Yeah.
And he has been dubbed Joey Emails by his group of people at the Big Ten.
I
It
feel like
don't
they
stop.
had to have known
Yeah.
that was our running bit.
You think he came in with the statue and showed it to him?
Like they had-
I wanted him to just proudly display
gotta
that
be
on his desk.
Yeah, that has
At
to be
his
on
office.
his desk. Yeah, that doesn't belong at home. Show the people what you have done.
That's right.
Sir.
People be like, "Oh, you're a nicknames guy?
Yeah.
All right. Calm down, Joey Emails."
That's right.
Joey goes to the United Center and doesn't swing by the office to say hi. That was a mouthful, but that's the one that's on my mind right now.
Joey Big Matt Sad. That what he is?
Joey break my heart.
Joey Heartbreaker? Yeah.
Joey doesn't care about us no mo.
We love you, Joey.
Yes, we do.
We'll see you soon, man.
So before we dive into this quick look around the NBA, guys, anything that stood out to you as the most surprising or insightful in our chat with Legler?
The Pergasaur is what I think that was the highlight what stood out the most for me there. The agreement on LaVine was also very interesting to hear his take on that. It's just say, yeah, he's never seen anybody do that before as far as rumors are concerned, being involved in that many rumors and nothing comes about. Him saying he's never seen that before in the time that he's been covering the NBA in his recent memory was something to say.
The thing about it though with Zach, it's like it wasn't a rumor. It was like they tried to make a trade happen and they couldn't.
And it constantly, but it
just
constantly kept
festered.
coming up and festered. Yes, festered and grew. So yeah, that was awesome. Hearing his takes on Kobe White, I thought were also awesome. Also, because he talked about it last year during Kobe's campaign for Most Improved. He said he would have gotten his vote on the All NBA show that he does with Adam. Shout out to those two guys. But yeah, man, I liked hearing him talk about Josh Giddey as well. That was insane.
It was. I think it was nice to hear him acknowledge, like, look, I do believe in Josh Giddey as a player. I think maybe obviously the way things devolved in OKC, some of that was on the specific flaws of his game the teams were targeting, and some of that just like, look, this OKC team got better in a hurry and rearranged some things, and obviously it became the SGA show, and Jalen Williams evolved and all that. Right. But I still believe in Legler saying I still believe in what Giddey can be at the NBA level, and the fact that he was talking about his physicality compared to what he's doing production-wise. Yeah. But also all the while acknowledging, like, yeah, this is a real sticky situation that the Bulls are in with Giddey and his contract. Yeah. I also say all the time what he said about, like, look, Bulls fans or NBA fans freak out when they hear numbers like 20, 25, $30 million annually on a multi-year deal, thinking, like, there's no way in hell this player is worth that. And guess what? The superstars in the NBA are now making above $60 million annually.
I don't know if you know this.
It's always nice to keep that in mind and keep that perspective. But again, for a player who may or may not make your team better, then, hey, well, it's not a max contract or a super max contract, but then you're still talking about spending a good chunk of your team's percentage of cap on that player and whether or not you should. And it seems like Legler will be interested to see what Giddey and the Bulls do this season before they sit back at the negotiating table.
And he's definitely a Giddey believer. Like, he believes in his game and he likes what he sees from a guy like Josh Giddey. So yeah, he's not down on him or anything like that. He understands the opportunity that he has right now with the Bulls, and that's cool to hear. But it all comes down to that contract. And I know he misses not being able to get $30 million contract money being in the league. It's like talking to Kendall Gill. It's kind of the same thing, man. It's like, damn, that's a lot of cash. But yeah, I loved hearing that, what he had to say about Giddey and what he had to say about Kobe for sure.
And it's interesting with Giddey because clearly he's like playing with more of the confidence that he's talking about, but still like the impact numbers are not good. Like, he has not been a positive contributor in terms of plus minus for the Bulls. And that to me is like a big thing that the Bulls need to be considering when they're talking about how much they are going to pay him. And like, even though he is playing with more confidence, even though he is influencing the way that they're playing in a positive way, the numbers that's not being borne out in the numbers. So it's a challenging situation, but it's interesting to hear Leg's perspective on it, because obviously we talk about it every day. Yeah. But that's obviously something that we're going to all be monitoring throughout the course of the year.
Absolutely.
And, the comment he made about, like, compared to my day, oh my God, NBA contracts wise. Just a curious little trivia. Either you care to take a stab at guessing what Tim Legler's career earnings were as an NBA player? 10-year NBA career. Okay. Clearly we know, hey, dude's been making ESPN TV money for a while. So either way,
listen,
you're doing
fine. Yeah, he's okay.
But
all right.
10-year NBA career, role player, 3-point shooting specialist, spanning 10 seasons. How much money do you think he got in salary earnings?
Total $30 million.
I was going to say 23.
5.1.
Wow.
that Bullets Bulls series you were talking about, that 95-96 season, Dave?
Yes, sir.
His salary that year, $250.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
And he shot 52.2% on threes that year.
I mean, come on, man. You got to pay more to the 3-point contest winner.
Ball,
the $250K.
That's another question I'm gonna have for him, is that 3-point contest, because he went against Steve Kerr in that 3-point contest.
That's right.
So I'm curious about that too.
All right, with our remaining time, we thought because we're a couple weeks into the NBA season now, teams have played somewhere between like 6, 7, 8 games. Let's talk about what's going on.
Sure.
Let's start in the East, the Bulls Conference. Cavs 8-0, Celtics 7-1. No other team in the East is currently above 500. Miami's sitting there 3-3. Knicks sitting there 3-3. Brooklyn, maybe to the surprise of some, up there with 4 wins, 4 losses. Brooklyn. And there the Bulls are atop the not quite mediocre teams at 3-4. Are we still here? What is happening? Am I trapped in Groundhog Day? What surprises you guys the most? Is it, we were talking with Legs a little bit about the Sixers and the Bucks and their slow starts out of the gate. With Philly, it's like, okay, well, they got Paul George back Embiid just got hit with a 3-game suspension earlier this afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and also we're not really sure what's going on with him injury-wise. Do you think this topsy-turvy Eastern Conference standing will correct itself as we progress?
Without a doubt. I definitely believe it'll correct itself.
So casual.
Yeah. Like, this is not sustainable. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, this will absolutely change and flip over. Like you said, I mean, your number 3 seed is 3-3. Like, really? And it's the Heat. Like 2 days ago, the Heat weren't even in the playoff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. It's going to change. It's going to flip. The Magic are not going to be a 3-5 team. I know that without Paolo. And I know that's going to hurt you a
Lost
little bit.
4 in a row.
Yeah, but they're better than that. We all know that. But it just shows you also the impact of Paolo and just how important he is on that squad, man. That's important. The Detroit Pistons at 3-5. But the Wizards 2-4. The Wizards are 2-4. The Wizards. Are we kidding me right now? I mean, Philly 1-5. The Bucks, the worst team in the East. Who had that? Who had that? Anybody? No. So I think it's going to even out. I don't know if the Bucks climb back out of the hole or whatever. Maybe they say we'll just stay here, make some trades or something like that. So I find that to be
They're in the
interesting.
second apron. Like, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
They don't have
then
their
they will
pick.
stay down there and be trash.
Like, they need to just they need to like actually figure it out on the court.
They can fire Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
And then hire Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
That'll fix it.
Fire Doc Rivers, hire Glenn Rivers.
Hire Adrian Griffin back because at least they were winning when he was the coach.
Oh, man. But, yeah, even the Hawks are probably the only team. I'm not surprised at where they are right now. Like, yeah, 3-5. Yeah, that's kind of where they are. The Hawks are going to be there. And then Trae Young, just got hurt in yesterday's game also. The Nets, I don't know if I'm surprised that they are 4-4. It's just like they're hot. You know what I mean? They're hitting all these shots right now. They're playing really well. When you have 2 of the top 20 scorers in the league, you're going to win some games.
So, like, they were a team that gave the Bulls fits last season.
All kinds of them. You know what I mean? And Cam Thomas is an explosive scorer. He can score 50 points on you. This can happen. So, and probably the most surprising thing was Ben Simmons basically having the best game that we've seen him have since he missed a layup in Philly. So, yeah, man, those things aren't very surprising as far as like the Hawks and as far as the Nets, but everything else is a huge surprise. And I think it will come back to earth soon. I do.
I just think, like, with the exception of the Celtics and the Cavs right now, there just aren't a lot of good teams in the East.
Yeah, true.
And, like, I don't know how it's going to shake out, but right now 2 teams are above 500 in the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. 2. And then you have 4 teams that are positive in point differential. You have the Celtics and Cavs, who are plus 14 and plus 13.2 respectively.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Knicks, who are plus 3.8, and the Heat plus 1.2. Everybody else has a negative point differential. And so I don't know how the numbers are actually going to break down in terms of standings, but I do think that, like, all these games are going to be competitive because no team is that much better than any other team.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are, like, that's one way to think about parity is that, like, everybody's competitive with each other.
Mm-hmm.
The way I'm seeing it right now is, like, none of these teams are that good.
Mm.
And, like, I don't know if that's, like, a good thing for the NBA. I mean, there's a lot of discourse right now about, like, what's wrong with the NBA, like, too many threes, whatever. But just some of these teams are going to have to separate themselves. And I think at a certain point, teams will hit their strides, but you also have teams that are really injured right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Raptors have not had Scotty Barnes or Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned Paolo Banchero.
I did.
I don't know. It just seems like a lot of these teams are kind of in a bit of a free fall, but because the rest of the East is so, like, uninspiring and also injured, it doesn't seem like there's going to be that much separation between any of these teams.
Like, I don't think the Knicks are going to stay where they are. I think they're going to, kind of elevate up, but they're going to deal with some injuries too.
The Tibbs tumble, Dave.
Yeah. Oh, the Tibbs
When
tumble's
Tibbs'
coming.
players get sick of him and start, losing focus and stop locking in all the time and stop playing elite level defense on a nightly basis.
No, because playing like he plays, but you still being barely above 500 will lead to all of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Speaking of which, D-Lazo23 in the comments saying the Knicks are not the same with Karl Anthony Towns now.
No, they're not.
Katie asked our viewers for hot takes about the East. Rob saying the Pacers won't make the playoffs. Paul saying Giannis trade to the Bulls? ?
No, lean into it, baby. Lean into
meanwhile
it.
saying hot take Embiid gets traded. Ooh. Wow. I don't know about
goodness.
those.
That sounds
Those are
wild.
well, you know what? Hot takes. Great job, everyone.
Fuego.
You understood the assignment.
He said a young person thing.
Real quick before we get to a couple thoughts on the Western Conference, that will do it for those of you tuning in on our TV services like Roku and Samsung TV Plus. Shout out to all of you.
Shout out.
Join us for the remainder on allchgo.com. That's where you can find us. Shout out again to everybody who joined up to become a CHGO diehard over the last week as we've been running this campaign. I think like in the last day, we got another like couple hundred in those finals. We were promoting it. Congratulations to all of you who took advantage of that wonderful offer of just $4 a month to be a CHGO diehard for your first year of membership. That is really cool. You know about the perks. And hey, if you missed out on this window and you think, man, I was thinking about diehard and I just didn't pull the trigger, and maybe I got a tighter budget this month, whatever, that's fine, because right around the corner when people do their Thanksgiving time savings, what do you call Black Wednesday or
Black Friday?
Friday, there you go. We're going to be running some more
Monday.
specials related to becoming a CHGO diehard. So there will be another great opportunity for some savings around the corner, so that you can be part of the Cool Kids Club with your fellow Chicago sports fans who are diehard. The best of the best from Willie Goat Gottlieb's reporting and all of our other credentialed reporters here. Access to that Diehards Discord lounge. Discounts, 20% off every time you shop, plus that free shirt of your choice when you sign up, plus discounts on our events. First Blackhawks takeover, already on the books.
Sold out.
Already sold out. Stay tuned for info on when that Bulls takeover is going to be. That's in the works. Shout out again, everybody who became a CHGO diehard over the last couple weeks as we ran that promo. Awesome stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So shifting to the West, Bulls have Mavs, Wolves, back-to-back tomorrow, Thursday. These two teams played each other in the Western Conference Finals last season.
I've been told.
They are each 4-3 out of the gate this season. I'm going to pose this question to you guys.
Come on.
Of these two teams that the Bulls will see over the next 72 hours, which team has a better chance, after we've seen their first 7 games, of going back to the Western Conference Finals? Oh,
good question. I'm going to go with Dallas. And it's not like Minnesota isn't good, or I don't think they're good. It's just I don't know what Julius Randle will be in the playoffs, and that's the only thing for me right there. I know what Ant is going to be. I know what Conley's going to be. I got an idea what Gobert is going to be, and that's dunked on. But he's good. No, I'm not. Listen, Gobert is really, really good, and I just don't know about what Randle is going to be and how his role is going to shape out in that Western Conference Finals, and how teams will attack him. And yeah, I'm interested to see that, because I've seen him in the playoffs before. He'll do his usual. He'll put up his numbers for sure. He'll do those things, but teams will attack him defensively, because he's not like that. But Gobert could remove some of that flaw from them. So I'm interested to see how that happens. But that's too much of a question. I don't really have that same kind of question for Dallas. I already know what Dallas is, and I watched Dallas actually get better shooting wise with them. And they still have those twin towers at center, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively the second. And, getting Klay Thompson is just a huge deal, for them. It makes life even simpler and easier. And now Luka's just putting up simple 34 and 15, games and stuff like that. So, and Kyrie has always been great in the playoffs, man. So a dude who will give you 50 without even blinking. So, yeah, if I had to put money on it, I'd say Dallas.
I'd go Dallas too, just because, one, I think they have a better chance to have the best player in any given series.
Oh, that's a fact.
Luka's that good. I think that got better in the offseason, whereas I think there are some questions about whether the Timberwolves got better after the Karl Towns trade. And huge DiVincenzo fan. Like, he's fantastic, and I think he's a very underrated element of that deal. And I think in terms of, impact, how much worse than Towns is Randall. Like, I don't think that there's that big of a gap there. But I do think that what made that team special was their ability to play 2 5s, stretch the floor, defend, and have a guy who could guard Jokic one-on-one and then also have an elite rim protector behind him. Now they can't really do that. And so I don't know that they're going to be able to get over that hump, which I think is a very important one, even though the Nuggets are not one of the teams that's gotten off to a hot start. So I would probably go Dallas, just because I think they, like, we talked about this over the years and why I thought the Nuggets were such a steady team to continue on making runs is like when you can fall back on a certain action that makes you great, which at that time was the Jokic and Murray pick and roll, you can always get a good shot. And that's like the most important thing to me at the end of games. Obviously, Jamal Murray, not the same player that he used to be, and other elements about the Nuggets have changed. But to me, it's like you're always going to be able to get a good shot if you put the ball in Luka's hands and you run spread pick and roll. You get a switch on him, he's going to make the right play.
Yeah.
I'm probably
He's
with
smart.
you. Probably lean Dallas. I think also
Okay.
there is a chance that neither the Mavs or Wolves end up back in the Western Conference Finals.
Yes.
Speaking of
I think
which-
it's a bigger chance that happens,
Right.
honestly.
Real quick, because we are 100 miles an hour, aka overtime right now. OKC, a perfect 7-0. I think everybody expected the Thunder to be really good and maybe leading the charge at the top of the West again this season.
Yeah.
More surprising 6-1 start. Suns or Warriors?
Warriors.
Yeah.
Absolutely Warriors. Even when Steph went out, they kept winning.
Which is
definitely.
Which is wild. And like I'm
By
a
a
little bit
lot,
surprised
too.
about the
I mean,
Suns
they-
too. Which is crazy to say about a team that has both Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in it. But if you're watching, our friends over there, PHNX, Espo, don't get mad at me. Also to our guy Steven, formerly of CHGO Sky,
Steven, what
who's
up,
also
boy?
now joined the PHNX Suns crew. I've never taken the Suns seriously.
Yeah.
The Booker Suns and like the Booker and CP3 Suns. Now the Booker and KD and Beal. I've never taken them seriously.
Oh man.
They've never proven that we should take them seriously.
Yeah, Spo's coming for you.
So
Lindsay.
I am a little surprised. And like, look, they stole that game from Philly last night.
Yeah.
Straight up stole it.
Because Kevin Durant is good. He's really, really good at basketball.
Dude's pretty well known for getting buckets.
Yeah, so I've been told.
Also telling Stephen A to shut up every once in a while.
Yeah.
When he should probably shut up.
The Suns,
Good comeback, Stephen A.
The Suns,
honestly.
the Suns plus 3.7 point differential. Warriors plus 17 points.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Warriors
So-
is when I checked the other day, like
They're
number
dominating.
Yeah.
one. Yeah, like
Dominating.
cruising.
You put the stank on that one, Will. I like that.
Dominating.
It's okay though, because Klay Thompson has himself a new home. Massive. Just like the amount of my disappointment when Joey was at the United States last night
It was
and
disappointment.
didn't
Was
come to the studio to say hi. My disappointment levels, massive.
massive.
That's going to do it for today. We will be back here tomorrow night for the front end of a Bulls back-to-back. 7 p.m. Central Time pregame for a 7:30 tip-off. Bulls going against Luka and the Mavs.
Quick question: was John Morant 360 layup the first one or the second one?
I think the second one.
I
go
think
with the second one.
I was like mind blown by the first one, and the second one was better.
He
Yeah.
did this?
Yeah, he
What?
he went up like
Literally-
this and then switched by the 360.
But it's
Yes.
not just he floats.
Yes,
He hangs like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's wild.
I mean,
the Jordan layup 2.0.
NBA is better
He
when
has the
Ja
Michael
Morant is
layup
playing.
package.
Simple as that. That dude is must-see television, man.
Yeah.
As I said, 7 p.m. tip-off, not 7 p.m. Tip-off of pregame is at 7 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Bulls Mavs tip-off at 7:30. We'll be here for pregame live at 7. Join us then. In the meantime, read good stuff, allchgo.com. Great stuff on Vooch and the new Bulls offense available now for you diehards. Will_Gottlieb. Big Dave Bow, BAWL Sports. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. Shout out and thanks to the one and only queen on the controls, Katie Dovey.
That's her.
Have a great Tuesday night, whatever it is you're doing. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow. See you, Red. Be good.
Peace and love, y'all.
We all silly like the mayor.